Welcome back to the Pixelists Podcast, my friends, the podcast about all the nerdy things we love and enjoy. As always, we're your hosts. That's Blake. I'm Will. And today we're here to talk The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One. A Little Worlds Beyond Number. And before we dive in, I hate this new chair, man. I feel like I can't get correct in frame. Um, Before we dive in, just a couple of quick announcements per usual, y'all. Well, first and foremost, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. We have we had an episode since?
No,
Well,
no.
I'll just hand it to you then to.
Since the accident. No. Since I had a baby. My baby's in between naps right now. So whenever you have a baby, they don't sleep too much.
That's
So
right.
just heads up.
We're working.
So
We're working on their schedule, so a quicker episode today, but we still wanted to sit down and talk about this. And
you're
also,
talking about,
go ahead.
or I was gonna say, you're talking about your chair. It just felt like a very like Seinfeldian thing to be like, man, something's off about you today. Like, I just feel like I don't like you as much today or something. Like,
I
it's
mean,
the
it makes
chair.
sense. Like, I'm not at the right elevation anymore.
Yeah. The whole podcast unravels because of the chair.
It probably will, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so exciting news in Pixel's territory. And because of that, I still don't know if what we're looking at. I mean, not Friday's a long way away, but I don't know if we're doing live stream or not this week.
Oh yeah, and I need to still watch Age of Umbra
Yeah,
too.
I haven't finished it. I have a little bit left.
Good
So
episode.
yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So yeah, also that. I mean, I assume it might need to be another like quick episode, or maybe we'll just do like a double episode if baby craziness is happening, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Just bear with us.
and yeah, gotta mention too, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the world champions of the NBA.
That's right, baby.
So we've waited 15 years for this.
I know, like literally,
However
it's
long
crazy.
it's been.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Still doesn't feel real, but definitely very excited.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do similar to our Age of Umbra, kind of like our summer style, I guess. A little bit of an abbreviated recap, and then we'll dive into the episode. So again, if I want to hit every single detail, but just drop it down in the comments if there's a specific thing that we missed or something we got wrong. But this is episode 50 of The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One. Axis Mundi. Axis Mundi. I don't know, man.
I don't know how you say it either.
And basically, this episode opens up with Ursulon talking to the Man in Black, who basically kindly offers that if Ursulon brings the children to him, that he will take them and help Ursulon. Ursulon still intends to see Orima, even though the Man in Black is pretty heavy-handed and like, you don't need to go see her. Like, I can help you. But despite this agreement with the Man in Black, he does in fact go to Orima's shrine, and Orima is not about it. She is, first of all, she does apologize for how she has treated Ursulon in the past and sees now with his breath that, so to speak, he is a legit spirit now. And basically says that she's allied with the Man in Black and that if he's offered a means to shuttle the children, then Ursulon should take that deal. And beyond there, they do talk a little bit about the Citadel, and Orima is pretty set on the Man in Black's plan, but does mention that Naram is usually the one who's more easily treatised with. And additionally, Naram's father, the King of the Sea, maybe? King of Storms?
Yeah,
King of Storms.
I think so.
Has also not allied himself with the Man in Black, and that would be another individual that Ursulon could reach out to if he's keen on following this thread around the Citadel. We cut then to Ame, who is arriving in Cairo, this big, beautiful, incredible city, and realizes very quickly that to get access to the portal door to go back to the Citadel, that she is going to need some kind of paper, some kind of document that identifies herself as part of the Citadel. And basically sees this happening and passing and realizes like, oh, I need that to progress this forward. There's a fun little bit about some of the dock workers seeing the fox talking and being like, "Whoa, what's going on there?" And Ame basically does this bit about being a ventriloquist and like, isn't this pretty incredible? Like, and the dock workers are like, I can't even see the fox's mouth moving, and basically says like, this is a great moment of just improv. Ame's like, yeah, where can I go for like a show or something like that? And the dock worker's like, oh, for ventriloquists, yeah, you should go to like, oh man, I can't remember what it was, like something in strings, like a
Yeah.
very just clever, quick off the top from Brennan. But she resolves basically to go get those documents. And then we cut over to Suvi, who's aboard the Epiphany on her way to Sarosmere. And why don't you take it from there?
Yeah. So we head to Sarosmere, which is like this. I think it's like the biggest, most extravagant city. It's like the capital where the royal family presides. Definitely gave me like Bioshock and like Age of Arcanum vibes.
Pretty cool.
In terms of like it's just exuberance. So the ship comes in, and thus the parade begins, which was the whole purpose of them coming there. So they're going through this parade, and one thing that Brennan points out is that at one point Suvi is like looking from the perspective of the ship. She's like seeing in like the skyscraper penthouses, sees some like medal or award that the Citadel had given out that she doesn't recognize, and I think it was to some family called Dosset. We don't find out much more than that about it, but it was an interesting point of interest. But then, basically, all that else that happens in this little segment is the wizard Slate comes to visit Suvi in her room. They are not the best of friends, given the kind of awkward turmoil that Suvi has caused. So Slate kind of like destroys a desk and is like, "Yeah, we're not on the best terms right now. I've come to collect all of your things and take them to the Tower of the Glove and the Citadel. So they'll be waiting for you there because you are going to accompany Steele to go visit with like the top brass once we get in." So Slate goes and starts like collecting Suvi's things from around the room, and then comes to Suvi herself and is like, "Give me your magical items that you have on you." And Suvi's like, "That's not happening." Um, and so I think there's like an intimidation check. There's some things that happen, but ultimately this is resolved because Slate doesn't see that Suvi has anything, even though Suvi does. So this is a result of I can't remember which one of her little ink demons it was. I don't know if you. It's not
I don't I don't remember other than that she realizes that Enzo
Enzo.
and the other one are involved or
No, yeah,
present.
okay. It was Enzo. It's a result of the spell he placed on her to basically mask those things.
Yes, that's right.
Um, so she's able to keep her pendant and her, I think, knife and something else that she had. So then Slate leaves. The parade finishes, and the last little bit we get is that as they're passing by like this royal balcony where the king is and the prince, who this parade is for, the prince like looks directly at Suvi. Um, we then cut back to Ame's cottage where Ursulon has returned from his visit to Orima, and he basically fills everybody in, the rest of the spirits at Ame's cottage, and also Neef about the plan with the king and knight, who I believe they're referring to as Lucio's ferry. It's one of the names he's known as. Like, hey, we're gonna take the kids to this boat, and he's gonna ferry them home. So like, great. And he's like, Neef, I need you to come with me because we need a witch to, negotiate this. That's how these things go. So she freaks out. She's like, I'm not a witch. Like, I don't have a familiar. I don't know any spells. And he basically has a panic attack. And Ursulon calms her down and is like, you know what? You don't have to go, but like, we need you. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to go try to get a familiar and then, I'll come. So we then have this bit where like, I think Indri said she always looked like a scared rabbit. So she was like, that should be your familiar, a scared rabbit. So she goes and tries to like get a rabbit by like holding out carrots next to a rabbit den, but she's just like really nervous, which is scaring the rabbits, and they eventually run away. So Ursulon goes out to help her and is like, hey, I actually think from what I know that you're not supposed to find a familiar that's like exactly like you. You're supposed to find something that like represents like the other side of you, like what you lack kind of. And of course, classic Brennan, there's this very beautiful, like poetic setup to like Ursulon being a spirit, helping a witch find her familiar. that ultimately results in Ursulon like bellowing out in the language of the beasts, like there is a young witch here who needs help. Can anyone help her? And we have this massive bull elk like stride out of the forest, like 12 feet tall, tons of horns, and he's like, I heard your call. Is this the young witch? And basically we have this great moment where Neef and this elk like embrace, and he becomes her familiar. Really cool. So now that all that has been accomplished, we kind of fast forward a little bit to when Ursula and the kids and Neef are setting off to go meet with the king and knight. So they ultimately arrive to the river. Brennan very nicely describes that, oh, it's a ford, and you hear starlings around. And the king and knight comes up on his ferry, and they're like, boom, let's do this. And I can't remember if it was a name drop or what happened, but Neef picks up on the fact that this is the king and knight. And Lucio's Ferry is just one of his names. And she's like, wait, this is who they were talking about at the witches' conclave. And so she starts kind of getting nervous and like stops the kids from boarding the ship and is like, hey, you said you're taking them home. Where's home? And the king and knight reveals that he wants to take them to the land of spirits, which is not where Ursulon wanted them to go, because they want to take them. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now, but there's some place they wanted to take these kids. It was like a setup for the Grenot. And he's like, no, you know, this war is coming. They belong there, and they'll also be proof of what, you know, these humans have been doing. Like, I need these kids to basically set up my war kind of thing. And Neef points out to Ursula, and they're like, hey, the easiest way for humans to go to the realm of the spirit is for them to die. So essentially, these kids are being sacrificed in a way. And so Ursulon's like, okay, yep, nope. And he takes out his sword and shield and is like, brother, this is not how this is going to go down. And then the episode ends with footsteps kind of coming out of the forest, and it is Sir Kieran, because we are on the path to Starling's Ford. And he's like, it's good to see you, brother. And that's where the episode ends. Again, episode 50, Axis Mundi? Mundi? Choose your poison.
Good job.
Yeah.
Pop, pop.
Pop, pop. Ah. And I was
Dude, what
waiting
an
for that
ending.
reunion there.
I know. We called it another Pixelist prediction that I think everyone also nailed, but
We'll
we
take it.
did get. I was wondering if we would get this in this book or if this would be kind of a long play.
Mm.
And fortunately we did. We had some clues to it earlier, notably the King and Knight missing, no longer having his sword on his hip any longer. And now Sir Kieran holding it, presumably, or obviously, his champion.
Yeah.
So we did get that reunion. And shout out to Neef, man. This little
Yeah.
moment of courage. And
Stepping up.
dude, it like, I felt chills when Ursula was like, you know, do you intend to take them
Yeah.
home like we said? And he's like, no, I don't. You're like, oh, dang. Here we go. Getting real.
Which makes sense. Like, it felt a little too good to be true. Like, the King and Knight, they were like just kept helping Ursula like the last 6 times we ran into him. I was waiting for like the other shoe to drop. But
What do
yeah.
you think happens from here? Like, do you think we get a combat with Sir Kieran? Like, or does the King and Knight let them? I wonder if it's like a door thing where like you can't come in without permission. Like, I can't take the children without your permission, or if it's like we can't let you. Like, sorry, I'm taking the children.
Yeah. It's curious because like surely they. I mean, it seems like he wouldn't even stand much of a chance against Sir Kieran alone, but certainly not against like both of them. So yeah, I was wondering if like, you know, we know that the river is a road, but like can they just like step back a little bit and they'll be out of the King of Knights realm? You know what I mean? Like where he can't impact them anymore. So maybe it is
What was
just
it?
Sir Kieran.
What was it in as kids in tag, like home base, or
Yeah.
like you can't get me?
Yep. Exactly.
Maybe it'll be something like that. No.
I mean, I feel like it has to be almost because again, how are they going to deal with it otherwise? But yeah, I mean, I don't even see him dealing with Sir Kieran, so I don't know. Like, I don't know how this is going to get resolved. I don't see them just letting the kids go.
We have How many episodes are left?
I think only like 4 or 5, right?
I think you're right. I wrote it. Yeah, 4 episodes left. Do you think this pushes like, I wonder if this pushes somehow Ursulon back to the rest of the party? Like, does the Man in Black take the children, and Ursulon is like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I need to go to the Citadel to like find. Oh, and by the way, where he wanted to take them was the town where the train was. I
Oh, it's
think
that
is
same place?
I think it was there,
I
right? Like
never
was
put
to
that
kind
together, but that would
of like outside of the reaches of the kingdom. I might be misremembering, but I think it was that place.
mm.
Because I don't think it was anywhere in the Shroud Mountains. Let's see.
It was like Singer's Cove or Singer's Bay or something, but like there was like a city associated with it too. Varick, maybe?
Yeah, let's see here. Maybe it was Varric. I might be totally misremembering this. Um, oh, that was the Library of Noara. I guess that's probably not correct. Um, sh- well, maybe it was. I don't know. We still need like a really good wiki
Yeah.
for this. But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I thought Varric was near that place, but I guess not. Either way, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But I do wonder. 4 episodes left. I have to imagine this was all done in one setting, right? These last 4 episodes in
I
terms
think
of one
so. They were
sitting.
at like camp or something, they said.
Yeah. So I'm assuming there will be something that brings them back together. So I could see it being this.
Yeah. I don't see I agree with that. I don't see Ursulon going to the Citadel for help. At least not
True.
like explicitly that. Um but yeah, I mean, I don't know cuz like let's say that the kids get on the boat for whatever reason. That's how this ends. And so Ursulon's like I got to get them back. I don't know if that checks out either because he's going to kill them, right? Like that was the
Mhm.
implication like so I don't know if they might not like it's not as if like there's a like they're going to be on a boat for 2 weeks to reach the destination where he has time to like do something. Like it might be that they're dead in the next 30 minutes if they board that ship, you know?
Mhm.
But I mean,
Mhm.
who knows how it works? Like maybe they do have to physically travel to the spirit and then when they cross that barrier they die type of thing. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true.
But
But
yeah,
I'm
I mean
like,
like is a fight with Sir Curran happening next episode? I mean, who knows how the mechanics of like a risen champion works, but like in my mind, he's like a level 15 to 20 NPC, but like maybe he's like level 5. I don't know.
not to mention that, like you said, the King of Knight's right there, who's
Yeah.
presumably level 20 plus, plus, plus.
And does he have
Um,
any I mean, I wonder what kind of agency Sir Curran has. Like I mean, he's not like a mindless puppet, I wouldn't assume. So
I
like
thought he was going to be, but when he was like, "Hey, good to see you again," I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess not."
cuz it's curious cuz like he's powerful, which is I guess why the king and knight wanted him. But he's a human, which is interesting. You know, he's not like a if he has his own agency, I wonder how he was recruited to like the side against humanity.
Yeah. Here's another question. Unrelated to Ursulon, just thinking again about like piecing everyone together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that one pathway is they don't come back together, and they really do all have like their own little storylines,
Yeah.
which definitely possible. So we do have this thing with Sir Kieran. This could be a combat. This could be like just a longer thread, longer as in like the next few episodes. We have Suvi, which is a whole nother conversation. But then we have Ame, who's in Caro, trying to get to the Citadel. Isn't Caro also where Ghost, where like that
Mm-hmm.
guild was? Okay.
Yeah.
And did she say she was gonna?
She thought
I
about
feel like
it.
there was something. Okay, yeah.
She
Well,
thought
there was
about
like
it, but
some,
I
and she
think
was like, "I can't get into that," right?
yeah,
Or
because I
something
think
like that.
Enzo and Cyril were like they have a mission, like they will not be side quested. So I think that kind of I think the current matter was too pressing for Ame to focus on that. So I think
Okay, that's right.
maybe that could be returned to after she reunites with Suvi, but that's
Yeah.
getting into the
Okay.
Citadel. I think was priority one.
Okay. That's correct then. Okay, yeah. I was trying to piece that together. Um,
Which
but
go ahead.
go ahead. I was just saying I could also see, that even though it's like, oh, that's not pressing, I could still see that being something. Um,
Yeah,
but either way.
yeah. I mean, especially I get like if assuming Ame gets into the Citadel, gets Suvi, and then they peace out back through Caro, that might be something they do the two of them because they're not really going to be aware of the current pressing threat that Ursulon's facing unless they have some way to communicate, but I don't think they do.
Hmm.
I mean, Brennan might invent them one. Um, but also, I just was going to quickly say that both Caro and Sarosmir sounded so cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Caro
It
with
actually made me
like
think of, or go
the
ahead.
the gargoyles that were like all
Hmm.
frozen in different parts of the city. Um, I was just cool like imagining that. And also
I
made me
felt,
wonder like, is that a Chekhov's gun? Where like at some point
yeah.
those guys are gonna come back.
It made me think of in one of my D&D campaigns, a capital city that I described, and I was like, and there's a couple of big buildings, and then I hear Brennan's like incredible and poetic
Yeah.
with the Taylor Moore background track,
Mm-hmm.
but whereforth our flying platforms and like this very just like
Yeah.
aspirational like incredible Age of Arcanum, like you said,
Yeah.
description. And I was like, "Oh, my capital city had a tree."
There's a skyscraper.
Yeah. There's a tower there. Ooh.
But yeah, I'm glad you
So,
said that because I mean we say this every time, but yeah, Taylor's score was so good because there were so many different like Caro to Sarosmir, but then also like the cottage and that the score to getting the familiar was so good. Like just constantly impressed by the fact that this man has taught himself all of this like for this show and it's this good.
did you listen to that podcast that just happened with Adam Conover
Oh no.
and
I
Brennan?
started it the other day, so I've listened to like the first 20 minutes.
It's pretty good. It was pretty good. He got to mention Worlds Beyond and just talked about what a fantastic job uh, Taylor Moore was doing. And basically, the way he framed it was that Taylor just resolved to learn how to do this, which is similar to how Taylor described it to us on the podcast.
Yeah.
But especially like it's definitely something like each episode, I'm just like, man, this skill set just gets better and better.
Yeah.
Especially in this episode with so many different settings
Mm-hmm.
and just there being such like a stark and matching sound to each setting. But I love Sarosmir and the music that sort of backed that up
Yeah.
as
Me
well.
too.
But
So good.
you should check out that podcast. It was
I
I
know I
enjoyed
do want to
listening to it.
finish it. That'll be good.
It's
I
actually
need something for my walk.
apparently it's the second one they did because the first one like they like lost the audio file or something.
Oh no. That's the
So
worst.
anyone who's done a podcast has lived through that.
Yeah.
I had someone on my another podcast, and she had this incredible line, and I was like looking at the timestamp to be like, "Oh man, I want to capture that line."
And you saw it wasn't
And
recording?
yeah, and
No.
I go, "Oh, that was such a good comment." Hey, so we were like 45 minutes
Oh
in. I was like,
no.
"Oh no,
Oh, that is the worst.
oh gosh," and they just think you're an idiot. You're just like, "I'm incompetent." I know. So,
Oh, it comes with the territory.
well. Anywho, so what do you think was going on with the prince? The prince taking a look at
Yeah.
Suki.
I don't know. I didn't know what to make of both of those little details. The one I mentioned in the recap about like the award Suvi didn't recognize, and then that Prince moment. The award one seemed more intentional to me,
Hmm.
but so this isn't true of that moment. But the Prince one in particular, I was like, is this just flavor? Like, is this just
Hmm.
fleshing out the scene, or like, was there something to draw from that? Like, was he
Right.
just happened to be eye level with Suvi, or like, was he looking for Suvi? You know what I mean?
And then what was the voice like? Suvi, we're going home. Who was that, or
I
what
think
was
that
the
was
implication?
Steele.
Okay, that's what I
That's
thought
what I
too.
took from it, at least.
Yeah, yeah, I took that too. Okay. Well, I was kind of just laughing about like we maybe got like a new boo here, and I just furthermore felt bad for Silver. Just
Mm, yeah,
this was the whole impetus of this chapter, this book or this arc, and we're just like, later, bro. See you
yeah.
again. Thanks for your sacrifice.
I do wonder, like, I mean, grand scheme, we know Suvi's not just gonna fit back into the fold of the Citadel.
Right.
So, silver lining for Silver is that like maybe he gets invited back into the fold. Like the more that Suvi leaves it.
Yeah. I almost wonder, could not that Steel, excuse me, Silver, we could never hear from Silver again. I think
Yeah,
that's fine. But I do think sometimes as a good DM, you have like these little set pieces that like kind of sit off to the side and you kind
yeah.
of look for an opportunity. Like I wonder if Brennan's curious at all about company man. It'd be the greatest glory of my life to die for the Citadel, and for him to come back around down the road as like maybe anti-Citadel and maybe like a
Mm,
new ally,
that'd be cool.
or he kind of got out of the cult a little bit, or it could be like what's the guy? It's such like a random reference, but in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, did you ever see that show?
I never like watched it, but I saw random episodes
Oh, buddy, you
here
gotta
and
watch
there.
it, man. It's
I know. I've
such a
heard
good
it's good.
show. So basically, there's a side character who falls in love with one of the main characters, and in kind of a cringy way, anytime she's around, he's like, "Will you marry me?" And she's like, "No, like I don't even know you." And he comes back like 3 seasons later as he's married, he has kids, and it's like, "Oh, good, he moved on." And at the very end of the episode, he's like, "I love you, and I'll leave it all for you." And she's like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I wonder if also that could be a twist where like they do reunite, a couple of arcs later, and he's like still, you
I
know,
could see
"I
it.
would die for you,"
Yeah.
but
I could see it go. I feel like you could use it either way and it would be really cool. Like where he has kind of, I mean, maybe especially even being shunned by the Citadel, that kind of like sets him on the path to start questioning things, and then he is an ally. Or he like boils in hatred for Suvi for ruining his life and is like a antagonist to her, like
because
hunts
if
her
you think
down
about it,
type thing. Like,
yeah, if you think about it, his his love of his life, or well, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
some very questionable like allegiances there, where he's like, I think I need to tell someone about what you told me.
yeah,
So there's that. His like new role model, Merlin, got
yeah,
killed.
right.
Um, the Citadel that he would die for is shipping him off to Siberia. Like I can definitely see a lot of boxes being ticked there, where you know he does have a vendetta.
Yeah.
So, but enough about that. Have you seen that Game Changer with Zach Oyama and Brennan,
Yeah.
where he's
I
like,
think
"But
I have,
enough
yeah.
about that." He's like, "Stop saying that." Game Changer, by the way, I always want to call it Game Changer Shorts because that's how I always
Yeah.
consume it. But great show,
I
very
know.
great
I
show.
That's how I consume it too. I want to go and like actually watch some of the episodes.
Yeah, I have
The
uh
Dropout.
a Dropout subscription still, so
Do
I
I
mean, I
have
guess I
one?
could. I don't know. I
Remember
bought one.
we were watching Fantasy High. So either
Yeah,
unless I was using yours,
you were probably using mine, I
I
would
should probably
guess.
check and make sure I'm not paying for that because I haven't touched it in like a year if so.
Well, I'm paying for it.
No, no, I just meant like if I had my
Oh,
own, I
yeah,
mean.
yeah. That's like when I was on my PlayStation, and I was like, oh, I have an Apple TV subscription. And I was like, wait, why do I have an Apple TV? And it was
Yeah.
from like 2 years earlier, and I was just paying it every month. I was
Oh,
like,
it's the worst.
no, the worst feeling.
I
So
remember
much
Chris told
money.
me he paid for WoW. Like he never canceled his WoW subscription. And I was like, I don't know if he did it
I've
on
never.
purpose or if he forgot, but it's like years, like between when we played. And I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, he still actively plays, so
Yeah. Well, I don't
that
mean, I
makes
just mean
sense.
like this was like a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Like one of
Yeah.
one of those times where we weren't playing, and he's like, "Yeah, I still pay for it every month." I'm like, "Why?"
I wonder how close he was to that. Remember they did like that giveaway for people who had never canceled their subscription for
Mm,
like 10 years or
yeah.
something, or 15 years. But if you missed a month, you didn't get it.
What was that?
Which,
Did everyone get it that qualified those metrics, or was it like a pool
yeah,
between those people?
I think everyone got it, but it
Uh,
was only like a handful of people,
yeah,
like a few hundred or something like that. So
that'd be cool.
anyway, I know we're just kind of peppering around. I loved Neef is just such a fun character, man,
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I loved the elk. The elk was it was so like Princess Mononoke in my
Yes,
mind. I just thought it was so good.
agreed. Unexpected too. I mean, not that. I mean, I guess we knew that like Indri had a polar bear familiar, but was
Mhm.
not expecting like a huge creature to be hers. But it makes sense, you know. Again, kind of like a nice compliment to her. Um,
I'm like invested in Neef and like her finding her confidence and
yeah,
like becoming this actual like it's pretty clear I think that Indri had no intention of her becoming like an actual meaningful witch. And I
right.
think there was even like wasn't there like some dialogue around like she had been an apprentice and yet hadn't we talked all this through back when it happened that like she
Yeah,
didn't have like some of the basics down and the implication there was that, like Indri maybe had no intention of
yeah. I
ever
can't.
being.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like a pretty dark implication that like she either just killed them
Yeah.
at some point or something. Because like Indri never, like there had never been an apprentice that became a witch under Indri.
Mhm.
Like she had apprentices a lot,
Yeah.
type of thing,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, I
Right.
love again. Who's to say? And this doesn't matter, first of all, but who's to say how much of this was like planned or not? But to me, it seemed like Indri was just like a improv moment from Ame and Ursulon, like to save her and bring her with them. You know,
Right.
easily could
Yes.
have not been brought along. And now there's
Yes.
this like really beautiful side story that's been built out of that moment, which is just so cool.
I love that you said that too because I think we've said this on the show a few times now. If you play D&D, it's another reminder that like you as the player have such power to create like the most meaningful story moments and story points. And a lot of players approach D&D from you're in the stands or you've paid for your ticket, you're in the seat and like for the DM like entertain me. Like
Yeah.
I just wasn't feeling this session. Wasn't feeling this episode.
Yeah.
Um and so it actually is totally unrelated, but well, I won't get into that actually. I was about to make a criticism about something else that I probably shouldn't get into, but anyway. But yeah, so they all of a sudden in this moment took Neef with them, and it's very cool how she's developing into her own character.
Agreed. I'm interested to see like what she becomes the witch of,
Mm, yeah,
which,
I think that I think that's also Brennan has such really the whole team does, but Brennan as the DM, it, I don't know. You maybe you have the better words for it. Like the way he intricately like pulls things together and like does like the bow tie of like, oh, now this detail, because like I think about Indri who was so set on no new witches and Ame basically being like, we're gonna get more,
yeah.
and she's like, great. And then the irony then of if Neef is now the first new one,
I was just
there's
thinking about
such
that.
it's just such like a palatable, just like it's just
That
so good.
that feels inevitable. Like maybe
Hmm.
it'll be book 3, but I feel like Neef will become a member of that conclave.
And
Like that
so I'm
moment is too good
yeah,
not to have, I feel
I
like.
know, and now I'm envisioning like the conclave getting together and Neef, I just
Because Ame has the wand, right? The one that inducts
yeah,
people.
uh-huh,
Yeah,
yeah.
she could do it.
So that'd be kind of cool, you know. I'd be all about it.
I think so. I'm here for it.
Um, anything to make of like Naram in the King of Storms? Did that trigger anything for you in terms of where you think that might go?
Um, yeah, I liked that. I liked that there Brennan like kind of carved that potential there. I didn't notice the King of Storms was also open. I'm not saying he wasn't. I just didn't clock
Hmm.
that. But so for at least for Naram, I feel like him and Ursula kind of have like a little special bond, because he saw him as a baby bear cub, and then
Hmm.
freed him and had that whole moment. So and now that you've said that, maybe that could even be an out for them in this moment, like against the King of Night. Like I don't know if word could have spread that quickly, but they're in water.
Hmm.
Like so
True.
maybe Naram could come help or something. Not that he would want to make an enemy of the King of Night necessarily, but anyway,
Hmm.
to answer your question, yeah, I feel like there's definitely going to be something there because like Ursulon's going to need some help.
Yeah. Well, and also there's been like this interesting back and forth is not the right word, but like this concept of like what is owed, like reciprocity.
Hmm.
And so like Ursulon helped the King of Night put his I guess pick up his sword, and then he owed Ursulon something. So
Hmm.
like nothing's free, I guess. And I think Orma brought this up again when Ursulon asked for help, and Orma
Yeah.
said like our debt is settled. Like why would I do something for
Right.
you? Um so back to the King of Storms, I mean Ursulon did free Naram, which
True.
maybe that's taken care of with Halamon or whatever, but I do wonder if we could see an angle of the King of Storms where there is like this sense of debt related to reciprocity for his son Naram being freed.
Yeah.
But that's probably like a far possibility, I guess.
That is interesting though. I could see it something like that for sure.
And then the last thing, just because we're
Yeah.
getting into it here, the last thing I want to ask you about is Slate, and specifically, it seems like Steel has all of this very like put together in terms of like, oh, it's going to be great. Like we're going to take care of Suvi. It's all going to work out. And yet in this episode, we had Slate pretty candidly being like, I know your mom said it's great, but like I know what I saw.
Hmm.
And it seemingly maybe not being so clean and easy to cover for Suvi. What's your take on that? Any thoughts there? And where does it go from here?
Yeah,
What
that
do you
is
think?
interesting, especially with Silver too. Like if there's enough of these little bees out there that are like Steel is, you know, favoriting Suvi is not is not conveying the severity of
Yeah.
what I mean, but like is there any potential for like the Citadel turning on Steel?
Right. Yes.
Probably not, but that would be an interesting pivot to this. Not that we need to launch into the whole Steel conversation again, but um obviously we know she's always been Citadel first, but she's clearly Suvi first for
Right.
the most part. Beyond that, so like we still don't know the true truth of what actually happened to Suvi's parents. Like, did Steel straight up betray them or no? And
Right.
if she didn't, then maybe there is room for her to kind of have a shift in perspective, especially if the Citadel turns on her for some reason.
Well, one reason I thought there might be a potential betrayal was the I can't remember who he was, but worked with the king. They were very surprised and frustrated about Steele's development of this magical spell of just
Right,
killing bloodlines, and
right,
what could that mean? Like, could that be
right.
used against us? And so I could definitely see these things stacking up against Steele of like better to we won the war, we won the battle, I guess. um, maybe it does make more sense to just get rid of her and then also Suvi as well.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely a lot of interesting data points to kind of set up that potential, which would, you know, we've long since talked about Suvi, exiting from the Citadel, making Steel this antagonistic force, but just even more so than that, removing this tremendous resource that Suvi has, right? Because, like, right, she got to
Mhm.
get out of jail free card for anything she does because the sword of the Citadel is her mom, right?
Right.
So, an interesting shift on instead of Steel becoming an enemy, just like Steel being killed or something. Like that would be a really cool. I mean, not that I like, not that I want these awful things to happen, but I do think that would be kind of a cool, almost pivot from what we've been expecting. Like we do know that Steel and Suvi are going to meet with the top brass, right? Like, what if there's like some sort of coup or something, and they like just
Mhm.
execute her or something? I don't really expect the dominoes to fall that quickly in this story, especially with like 4 episodes left, but that is an angle I haven't thought of before. That like maybe Suvi finally gets through to Steel, but then Steel dies or
Mhm.
something.
Yep. It's good.
Be cool.
Other like quick data points, just pulling up from the fireside chat. There was a comment around where Sir Kieran's arrow wound is where the pauldron
Yeah.
would have been.
Oh, I didn't think about
Hmm.
that.
Like I'd hit him in the neck.
Yeah.
So a little bit of an irony there, if
Huh.
giving the pauldron away is what caused
Yeah.
that. Um, uh, let's see what else. That might be like the only like main one that I wanted to point out.
I did. I
Um,
didn't finish the Fireside, but I've listened to most of it so far. And one thing I thought was interesting is that they said that this episode they recorded siloed from each other, which
hmm,
I thought was interesting. Which I don't know if this was a camp episode or not, but even if it
yeah.
was, it's just cool that like because all three of them are separate right now, like they didn't sit at the table together, which is kind of cool because they said that like listening to the episode when it came out is the first time they heard like what happened to the other two characters.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah. Anyway, well, thank you guys for listening to today's discussion on episode 50. We got episode 51 dropping tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
maybe the day after. We'll see. It's usually one of those days. Join the Discord as always. Let us know what you thought about the episode, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye, y'all.